So let's do it then. Yeah, man, I can't do that. Coach Helen for YouFit Studio. Right, talking about unconscious eating. It is actually, this is quite a big issue, I have to say. And I've talked about it before when someone said, I'm doing everything, Helen, I'm doing everything I'm meant to be doing, and I'm not losing weight. I don't get it. And it can make, it actually, and honest to God, I could list out probably tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of things. The reasons why somebody may or may not be losing weight. But really unconsciously consuming calories can be the difference between a result and not getting a result. And when I say this, I'm saying consuming calories, I also mean drinks as well, by the way. I'm going to add that in, although I didn't originally put it in my plan. Let me just get a pen so I don't forget. I do include drinks in this because it's surprising how those things can stack up as well. And I'll go over an example of how that happened today with a couple of clients as well. So, granted, on this, so we're okay. If you think, right, if you say to yourself legitimately, and you can say to yourself honestly, and really be honest with yourself and say, right, I am definitely doing my training. I am definitely all over my steps. I am definitely doing my meals. My meals are perfection, and you're not losing weight. You have to ask yourself, where is it not happening? Now, I would say 100% of the time, I was just checking like this, looking out into the sunlight, like, blue sky, just checking reflectively to make sure I'm not a porky. I'm going to say, from the bottom of my heart, genuinely, I believe 100% of the time it will come down to food and somebody's a variety of things around food. Don't get me wrong. Their perception of what they're doing in their meals, yes. Their perception of portions, yes. Also, where calories are actually coming in. And I've had a few of these recently. So I'm going to kind of spread out a little bit from my initial plan because so many things have cropped up even in the last couple of days in terms of somebody's not conscious of how many calories they're consuming. Now, you may say, well, that sounds ridiculous. Like, you were joking before we go live, like, is someone actually asleep while this is happening? No, it's either that they're just actually not aware of how much something might be from a calorie content, or actually just not aware that it makes a difference to them losing weight because for various different reasons, which I'll explore. It always comes down to the extras, right? Now, it is energy in versus energy expended and used, I guess, to get technical to some degree. So if someone says to me, I can't lose weight because, or I'm not losing weight because, I will always change them back and say, well, actually, let's just look if you're actually genuinely in a calorie deficit to start with and actually make out if, rather than say I'm doing everything I'm meant to be doing and I'm not losing weight, are you actually in a calorie deficit? Let's be honest if you are or not. Let's look at your behaviours as they were when you were in a calorie deficit and losing weight. Are they the same, yes or no? And generally speaking, they're not. Right? That's the honest truth. So you've got to ask yourself where it's going. Now, I'll go into an example now, right, of where you may be getting caught out where you don't know where this might be happening. Genuine situation over the weekend. A client who I don't think has ever had a McDonald's had the full house. So, quarter pounder, fries, milkshake. Now, I knew, not to the penny, but I knew generally speaking how much that might be from a calorie content point of view, because I've done lives on lots of fast food and junk food over the last 12 months and how to make selections on the menu that's less calorie dense, of the pick where you can go with it, right, and how surprising it can be where the calories come from. I talked about quarter pounders with cheese for a very long time, I think I recall. It's 480 calories, right? So this meal, now I can't, without it in front of me, I can't remember the top of my head. I remember the fries were 350 calories because like, wangers, that's almost the amount of the burger, right? So I asked the client out of interest, I said, how many calories do you think this is altogether? And they came back at just under 1,000. And I was like, well, actually, if I add this all together for you, it's more like 1,400. And that for that client was an educational piece, but also goes to show how, if you're not calorie aware, how you may be consuming calories without being aware. right? Because we may put a general figure on something and say, well, I think this is about, and it's usually 100 or 1,000 calories. I'm saying obviously there's stuff in between that people come out with. However, there seems to be an attraction to a rounded number. That something small is probably around 100 calories, and something large is probably near 1,000, maybe, probably not over, right? And I'm not advocating, by the way, of any of this calorie counting to a precise degree where you're getting anal about it. What I am saying is that if you're saying to yourself, I am doing everything I'm meant to be doing, I genuinely am, and you really want to be looking at your food, it's situations like that where it's great to have a focus. Another example of this was where alcohol could come into play, where a client may say, I'm doing everything, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. And then I might say, okay, because I might know the client and their behaviours and how they might socialise at home, even with the people in the household, or how they were before lockdown. I might say, okay, so how's your alcohol been? And for example, I had a situation last week where one client in the same household was having 5 glasses of wine, and it was 1,200 calories a week. And the other client was having a vodka and 7-Up Zero, and it was like 97 calories, and it was having 6. It was having up like 595 calories for their alcohol a week. With 6 drinks is still quite a lot, right? In comparatively though, the other client was also having the 6 amount of drinks with the other client, and not understanding why one client is well, how are they losing weight and I'm not, because there's an unconscious consumption of additional calories somewhere that you've not taken notice of. Now, all this is learning, yes. Also want you, if you are struggling right now with your own weight loss, just have a little bit of focus on that, some of the things I'm saying, and think about your own examples where that might be happening. Certainly when it comes to awareness of calories, how much you're consuming, and how much you can educate yourself, or want to educate yourself around that before you have it, because I don't doubt that sometimes it's always best not to know, right? It's always best to be oblivious a little bit. Like, I'd rather not know. If I don't know, it's okay, right? It happens. So be aware of that. Think about energy in, energy out. Right, yeah, I just covered that. But sometimes we'll tell ourselves that food is lower calorie than it actually really is. Get informed, because like with that client, when I advised her of how much she consumed in that one meal, because it wasn't the only meal she had that day, yes, she was not prepared for that figure, as I imagine most of us wouldn't be if we realised that one burger and fries and a milkshake had gone over like probably a whole day's allowance in one meal, right? That's where we can get caught out. Also consider where things might add up, or where they don't, right? So always have a lot of people talk about, I'll go to the alcohol again because it's a great example. So 1 glass of wine a week, 125 calories. Over the year, 6,500 calories, right? That's just 1 glass of wine a week. Now, take that for all the things you may have elsewhere, like, oh, it's just a little bit of this, or it's a little bit of that. Soon adds up, right? And I've talked about this a little bit recently as well, because it happens a lot. It happens a lot on the challenges as well, where someone will quantify it's just. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. It's just ... right? Fill in the gaps. It's just a ... It's just a ... It's just a numerous times over the week. Now, it might only be like 50 calories in an isolated incident once a week, right? If that's every day, and it's 50 to 80 calories to maybe 100 calories, which I've seen that happen as well. Say it's 100, let's make it easy for maths for me, because you know how crap I am. Didn't use an naughty word, and I'm not good at maths, right? So if it's 100 calories a day for, I don't know, some mayo and, I don't know, a couple of seeds on a salad extra, whatever it is, 100 calories. It's very small. In an isolated incident, one day of that, nada. 7 days, 700 calories. Almost 3,000 calories over the month if you do it every day. Look at that, quick maths. Right? Now, that's a lot if you roll it into the year. Before you know it. Somebody's saying I'm doing everything, but they're not taking into account the stuff that adds in. Right? Now I've got a classic example of this. This is a classic. Whoa. I don't think I've used this on here yet. I hope I haven't, because this is a classic example of this happens. I had a client, not this month, last month, month before even, covering everything on the food plan, right? When it comes to the challenge, covering all the portions, doing all the workouts. No, it just wasn't adding up, okay? Just wasn't adding up. And it became about the little things that being dismissed that we really had to focus on. So for this client, all 3 children at home, all 3 girls. One girl likes the crust cut off her sandwiches at lunchtime. So 2 slices of bread. So every lunchtime, this client was cutting the crust off her daughter's bread and then didn't want to waste it. Just quickly, as she was doing other kids' lunches, eating, not even thinking about it, completely oblivious really, to really start to get into focus. Now, don't have a calculator, wish I do. Now, 1 slice of bread, the crust, is 70 calories. Right, so it's 140 calories a day additional going in from the crust of 2 slices of bread, which is so innocuous to most people, and yet, considering it's 140 calories a day, 5 days of the week, and sometimes at weekends as well, there was a hell of a lot of calories going in, even before that client was having their treats and things they wanted, like the splurges, whatever. That was additional in. So I think we got to near on 800-900 calories before we even got to the actual planned stuff. So we'd kind of like looked at all the unplanned things that are happening, like clearing the kids' plates after they finished. So if they did finish a little bit of sandwich, I'll just eat that quick before it goes in the bin. Little things, right? Clearing the kids' plates is a big one. If you're a parent and you do this, this is one to pay attention to, because that can be a big, again, when I said it can make a big difference between losing and not losing, what you may see as small will add up, right? It can make the difference. So being aware, the crust situation was an eye-opener for me, because, you know, it's not often you get into nitty-gritty of how many calories some crusts of bread are. And yet, there we are, doing the maths. And I'm like, wow, there you go. That is a difference. And guess what? When I said to the client, right, for the next week, really consider, really focus in, become conscious of everything that passes your lips, not just what you eat in your meals, really become conscious of your own behaviours and where you're consuming calories. Guess what? Started losing weight, right? And has continued to lose weight, actually, since then, week on week, right? Because they became really, truly aware of all the things that they dismissed, right? And this is where you have to be more conscious and not dismiss these things as just, right? It's just A. Because what you're doing is rationalising. It's just A, and there's usually some kind of theory behind it. Like, because I did work out today and I've been for a walk, so it's just A. Be conscious of the stories that you tell yourself that it's okay to just eat a additional extra, because you're going to be telling yourself the same story throughout the day and throughout the week. And before you know it, we'll be saying, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. I'm doing everything. Because you are doing everything, as well as dismissing the actual food that you need to take responsibility for and become conscious of. So if you are in a rut and you do truly believe you're doing everything, I dare you. Feel that? I'm daring you with my eyebrows. It's quite hard to do that, right? It is though, because one of the things to say again to clients is, Joe, if I set a film crew behind you and actually filmed everything you did for the day, everything, like really, what would they see that I'm not seeing right now and you're not seeing? Oh. If you really want to get into it and really want to become firstly responsible for your behaviours, secondly conscious, really think about that. Like if you were on a reality TV show, God knows what my reality, what? Never going to start that question, theorising, what would my reality TV show be called? Trials of Pets, probably. If you were a reality TV show, and it was just based on what you were eating, what was chewing you were eating all day or drinking, what would the episodes be called, firstly? I'm going down a rabbit hole here with this one. However, think about it. If you were fully on show all day, every day, what would you probably not want people to see, but actually have to become aware of if you really want to start losing weight? And always remember, right, and I do say this, it doesn't mean that these things are not something you can't do forever, right? Ever. If you have a goal to maintain weight or stay where you are, then at least make a conscious decision you're going to do that and know what you can and can't get away with it in terms of your energy in, energy out, I mentioned earlier, right? Because that changes all the time, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. As in, if you have a goal to lose weight and you really believe you're doing everything, bring it into the light, make it conscious, right? So, rehab. It's a big deal, people. It is big. It really can make the difference. Alcohol, I could keep doing on and on a different one. I'm going to do alcohol when we get closer to pubs opening. Don't worry. I will come back to alcohol and the impact of alcohol. just about when people start going out to the pub gardens, etc. If you are sitting there saying, you know what, Helen, I'm doing all my training, I'm doing all my steps, my meals are perfect, I'm doing everything I need to do, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight, okay? Then really, let's get into it. Let's find out what it is. So some variables to deal with, and it's going to be food. Experience-wise tells me it's food. Energy in, energy out, people. Right? At the end of the day, there's nothing special or different about your body. If you're not losing weight, it's because you're not in a calorie deficit right now. Whatever the variables are, you are not in a calorie deficit. From my experience, big sweeping statement, yes it is. However, from experience, also correct. So if you're not a calorie deficit, you really have to understand where the calories are coming from, right? Firstly, educate yourself. Know that if you're going to have splurges, don't pretend you know the calories vaguely. Have a good understanding so you can make that decision in good consciousness. If someone says to me, I had a splurge, Helen, and it's the entire pizza, I'm probably going to challenge them to say, is that one splurge really? Or is that like a week and a half's work? We will tell ourselves the stories of this is just a splurge, it's one thing, right? Yeah, use some reasoning around this. If one person's splurge is a small slice of cake, for example, another person's splurge might be a full-on Krispy Kreme with all the trimmings, the internal filling and everything else. Where's the balance? Because one slice of cake might be 100 calories, one of those donuts is nearing on 500. Who's going to be in a calorie deficit? If you're making a choice between those two things, are you aiming to have a splurge even that's within a calorie deficit? Make that decision with knowledge. Educate yourself, right? And then make a decision. If you clearly decide, I'm going to do this and have this, I plan to have this, I know how much it is, cool, it's conscious, right? I can work with conscious. At least there's some reasoning and I can challenge that and you may be able to challenge me back. But if you're unconscious about it and you're just consuming calories without knowledge, there's where you need to do some work. Also, think about the things that I've talked about. Like, think about the small things that add up. That is just it's just a little bit of this. It's just a little bit of that. It's just some gravy made with the fat of the animal. That's a big one. It's just a bit of mayo. It's just a glass of wine a week. Every week. For a year. 6,500 calories, right? It's just is a way for a lot of us to quantify behaviour that we really want to indulge in, right? We're conscious of how many times you say it's just through the day, through the week. Because again, it all adds up. Every little counts. If you dismiss it, there's where you need to be looking a little bit more. All right, think about the crust scenario I just talked about. That's a humdinger, a shocker. It made a difference between somebody losing weight and not, and continuously losing weight and getting out of that status quo. So something so small, so innocuous, so dismissive as crusts off a kid's plate is enough over a daily basis to not lose weight. So again, become conscious. Think about that camera crew. If they can film it, they can see it. If they can see it, it's happening. So start looking at your own behaviours. So speak of me, right? Ooh, how to feel full and still lose weight. Love that one. That's on Wednesday. Join me Wednesday at 5 for that one. If you have any comments or anything you'd like to add, feel free to do so. Comment or message me direct. I could not put my tags on today, so Facebook has failed me in technology. However, if you need anything else, just reach out and let me know. And in the meantime, enjoy the evening walks, and I'll catch you Wednesday.